Thank you so much for doing this. This is great. My name's Laura. I'm the one that's been emailing. Nice to
Hi,
sort of
Laura.
meet you over Zoom. We've got Marina, you can see, and Sandy as well. To kick off, just tell us about yourself. Tell us about the company.
Yeah, so my name is Shel. I'm a mother of two. I got a 15-year-old and a almost 2-year-old,
Oh
turning two
wow.
in a week time. Keeps me busy, but I'm also working full time. Uaona, which is the company that, not really a company, but more of a brand that I put up with, is due to an advocacy that my sister and I started. How it came about is that my sister went home to my mother's place in Negros, in Bacolod, and met up with a relative of ours who's used to be an OFW or overseas foreign worker working in Cyprus, and she's grown old and she's retired and decided to settle back home and do the life in the province. So went back to practically where they grew up. And yes, my sister went for a visit and then she saw older people still doing the weaving before all this pandemic started and all that. Negros tourism, and we call it their green tourism, is picking up. The problem we had before is transportation because one, there's still no direct flight, international flight to Bacolod or to Negros Occidental for that matter. But we get pretty good tourists coming to see Sipalay Island, to see the ruins, to see the waterfalls. The waterfalls there was getting famous before all this lockdown happened. And so they got pretty good tourists and the weaving, I wouldn't say industry, but the weaving culture carries on, and we got a little bit of sales here and there because of all this tourists. But now that has totally locked down. And so when my sister went there, she gave me this small bag. She gave me that as a birthday present, and it quality is very, very good. But the way the bag looks is not modern, even though the quality is there. I just think it can do more. So after that, my sister went back to them and said, I wanted something which is customized, some designs that I think I'd like to carry around. I didn't really start thinking of it as a business, but I just want something of my own using their materials, the way they weave and, you know, the raw materials that they use to weave the bags. I just want them to use exactly the same, but on the design that I want. And they managed to come up with that one, which is this one. This is the first one that I got.
Oh wow.
Looks so
But
nice.
without this. So it's just the bag without the girl, the painting. The painting came about because of my daughter's artwork. My daughter paints. And then this one is the very first. We've requested for the fiber to be really, really tiny. The old stuff, it used to be this thick. So you can actually see how it's weaved.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting more. Yeah.
Yes. So with this one, you see they put in more effort because it's now like smaller fiber, smaller materials. So the leaves, the pandan leaves, you have to cut that before it's just 2 cuts. Now they make it 3 or 2, so it's tiny.
Yeah.
And they have to triple that so it's thicker, so it doesn't break. So there's a lot of things that we somehow worked with the weavers in terms of probably making the material slightly more durable. So we've got additional coating in this one that even if you go out and it rained, it wouldn't just break the dies. We have not developed our own coating yet. That would be 100% eco-friendly. It's one of those things that we have on the pipeline. Also the packaging. The packaging now, I think if you look in my Instagram or in my Facebook page, we have switched, for example, our mailers more to biodegradable ones and paper-based. We've removed the plastic to send it out, so we're not sending any plastics anymore. And one of the things that we're also working on is how to protect the bags in terms of shipping without having to use bubble wrap. Although the bag, which is one of the good things, is even if you pressed it, it goes back to its original shape. Like I said, the material, we want to maintain it as eco-friendly as it was when they started. Mainly leaves, fiber, and if we get some materials, the cotton is like 100% organic, and leather is also vegan leather. and we want to keep it at that. There are some things that, like I said, the packaging is one of those that we're starting to work on, as well as, you know, the coating, the final coating, because like I said, it's not something that we own at the moment. We buy them, and we are trying to find other sources, or, you know, a supplier that we can work with in terms of doing some tests to make it 100% eco-friendly, for that matter, without sacrificing the quality as well. But of course, we're a small player at the moment. Part of our sustainability effort is not to stock up on quantity. We don't want mass production. Like the designs is one piece per design. So say, for example, like my bag, no one else will have it. So that's just mine. And if you want, you can buy the others on a different design. And then once that's sold, we develop a new one. It's both. Like I said, my daughter, she paints. So some ideas would come from her. Some would be from two painters that I have also in Negros. The painters that I work with, they're not pro painters. They're young artists who's just really practicing and, you know, want to practice their craft, but they're pretty good.
Tell me about your workers. Tell me about how they're sourced. What's your relationship with them, and how are you helping with the culture of fair trade, fair pay, and all that stuff?
So we have one head weaver in Negros, in Bacolod. Her name's Beverly, and she's got weavers under her. So she manages the weaver. So what I normally do with Beverly, I said, oh, you know, we need to come up with a new design. So it's not just with the painting, but the shape of the bag, the colors and stuff. In terms of material sourcing, of course, the pandan, the plant, it's all coming from Negros. So that's the one that they've done throughout the years, or maybe even centuries.
How many weavers have you got on the job?
5. It's not like a clock 9 to 5 kind of job, or 9 to 6. It's, you know, they come in and they weave, and, you know, they do it on their free time. It's not like run like an office. So they even got the singer, you know, the old sewing machine. A lot of the weaving happens on the floor. They use their feet to hold the leaves. It's still traditional the way they've done things. And honestly, for me, whether I'd work on modernizing that weaving or to make it electronic and stuff, at the moment, I don't think, or I don't foresee that's the way to go, because, like I said, we're not into fast fashion, so I don't need machineries.
In terms of the work they do and making sure that the workers are treated well and they've got fair pay, what are you bringing to the table as an employer?
To be honest, I'm not considered as their employer. They're my partner in the business. That's how I see it. There are a few materials that I outsource myself, like the organic cotton. That's something that they don't have there. That's the one that I need to outsource from Manila. They have to ship it there, and they assemble the whole thing there. Some of the locks, for example, of the bags, I also have to outsource that. And if for the price of the product itself, you can say that about 60 to 70% goes to the artist and the weavers. The others would be on logistics and, you know, a little bit of profit, and they get a big chunk in terms of what we do. It started out as an advocacy, because what we wanted to do, one, we want to modernize what they do, right? So that's why the look of the bag is now different than your usual probably leaf bag that you see. It's not the bamboo type that now I think the big brands are starting to get. We help them make it competitive to what is being offered in the market, but of course not in a fast fashion kind of way in the country. And I don't know from that direction how it's going to be. San Carlos City, which is a city in Negros Occidental, they used to be what we call the green city. They start installing solar panels in houses. It's the local government's effort to really move that place into something more green. So solar energy is one, renewable energy is one. The green tourism, pretty much before all this pandemic happened, that's what they want to promote. The weaving industry is one of those. Agricultural, they're still pretty agricultural. I mean, my family, they're more of farmers and fishermen. And that's still a big chunk of the livelihood of a lot of people there. They've been impacted heavily by the pandemic because of the loss of tourism. Of course, with the loss of tourism, the selling of this traditional bag also goes down, because it's not just, they don't really export that much. So that's where we picked up. And it's more of us helping sustain that tradition, that culture, because like I said, the weavers are old people. The local government there tries to promote weaving as something that is a business or an industry that we can probably pass on to generations. And that's one of the things why we worked with them, is because I think modernizing the design, making it more competitive, would somehow attract younger market. And in that sense, the younger generation would probably take it on, because like, well, if someone who's my age or slightly older than me would go for this rather than going for the big branded ones, and maybe it's something that I want to carry on, and it's something that I can make a business later on. So it's more of that mindset, how we started this small business of ours.
I wanted to know, does this bring you difficulties with the design?
Difficulties in the design, I wouldn't say so. There's always that challenge to come up with something unique. We don't mass produce. People don't get tired that easily with what we have. And one of the things that I've also done recently, I took a fashion design class. I love looking at the trends, looking at pretty stuff and beautiful stuff, but I'm not a fashion designer. And when it comes to things like this, you need to learn the ropes somehow. And that's when I started my certification for fashion design. And somehow I thought that will help me in terms of the sourcing of materials. Probably there's not a lot of information about plant weaving and using that as a material, but there are some foundation to it that I'm learning, and somehow that I think that can help evolve the designs moving forward as well.
Is there any sustainable brand or initiative that you're particularly keen on?
In terms of fashion, not really, because to be honest, it's just recently that I started being more conscious, and I live in Singapore. And during the lockdown, when people just massively buying online and stuff, the minute this country opened and people starts coming out, the amount of waste that we have is just ridiculous. And we live about 2 blocks from the beach. My son went to the beach, we went for a walk, and he went to the waters just for, just to do a pit a pat and just play with water. Came out and he's got black oil in between his toes. And my son is just barely 2. It is very disappointing, because this is like, it's nature, and he's supposed to be playing and be okay in the water, but no, he came out of the water with black oil in between toes. And what if he swallowed some of it? It's making me angry, and it's making me sad. Him experiencing that, it is just true. What more if he gets older? If no one starts doing something, it can get worse. But yeah, I mean, I've wrote to the local government, because I'm now doing upcycling and recycling, and they used to, now they're only picking up recycling once a week. And I've seen boxes getting wet because of the rain. It's been left out there and no one's picking up. And I know they cannot get that much people to at this time because of the pandemic. So everything is being put into like healthcare or other work, but not picking up recycling. So I wrote to the local government and said, well, I know we're busy with the COVID and that's the priority right now, but this country trying to promote green, I think we need to do something with recycling, because there's no point for us putting it out there. It gets wet, no point doing a recycling and all that kind of stuff. I hope it's not taking a back seat because everybody's just busy with COVID.
Because earlier that you mentioned that you have lockdown in Singapore, I just wonder, has COVID, the whole pandemic, changed you or your business at all?
Actually, the business started during the lockdown. To be honest, we're not impacted. Where I work, we're technically stable. If you think about it, because everybody's at home, deliveries are picking up. We're pretty secure in that matter. Nobody lost jobs. If I want an easy one, I just do what I'm doing right now with my job, and I'm okay. This one came about because we saw that there's a need for it. And this is what I hate. It's just, you are just asked to stay at home and watch Netflix. I'm like, the lockdown is more than that. Exactly. So that's when my sister and I started talking and stuff. I mean, this thing is, when she went there, it's before the lockdown, and we had all these ideas already, and it's just, I'm not going to just sit down and watch Netflix on lockdown. I'm going to do something else, which is, I think more productive. And my husband would say this, I just can't sit and relax. I need to be doing something. 2 weeks ago, my weaver, I have a couple of orders for customized bags, and it's 2 weeks delayed in terms of our commitment time, and it's because that town where they are going to cross to get to where they can ship the bags. So that's the thing. They're remote, so there's no pickup in terms of the carrier. So they have to go to the city and drop it off. Area that they're going to cross has an infection. And so they are not allowed to cross that area. And then they can go to the city to drop the bag. So that's just one of the things in terms of logistics now that we are, I wouldn't say somehow struggling, but there's a bit of a challenge because of
of course. What you told us about trying to develop the eco-friendly coating for your bags. What else is next for your company? Obviously, you just started out. What are you hoping to achieve in the future?
So one of the things we also want to do in terms of knowledge sharing is to do this weaving workshops. I've seen them do it, but to be honest, can I do it? I don't think I can still do it. Exactly. Especially when they do the leaves, the stripping of the leaves, they just go. It's quite scary because those things are sharp. This is one of those things that I also want to do, like workshops, for example. Just maybe little things. Probably they can't do a full-scale bag, but just that knowledge of how this weaving, culture is, or how weaving is done using this material. So those are one of the things that we have in the pipeline.
How about a short message, like a eco-friendly or sustainable message that you want people to know?
I think for one is like where we started. Preserving culture and tradition is very important for me, and younger generations, I want them to think of that. It is easy to get into the ropes of what's the trend and what clicks and what your peers are doing, but we also have to think moving forward. This tradition made us what we are, and that's one thing that I want to promote to the younger generation. And it's culture is also one thing, and the effect of what you do, not just to you or to your immediate family, but to everybody. I guess, that's trickling down of respecting culture, respecting tradition, and also what you do has an effect to other people. And I think that trickles down on thinking of when you got a waste and you just leave it there, what is the effect of that to the next person? Or even to probably to the next generation. We've not thought of that so much. The way it is right now is so much on survival of the current state. I think there's more that we can do in terms of helping other people. Every action that you do, you think of the cost of it to other people and not just yourself. And I guess that's how our brand started out, in that thinking, futuristic thinking of our immediate family as well as the people that we can impact. So I think that's pretty much where we are at the moment. We expansion plans, we don't have that now. We're more really on how do we make our business even more sustainable than what it is, and honestly from there we'll see how it goes. So it's more now we're here to help, and we're here to preserve culture.
Thank you so much for talking to us. It's been an education, really, and I feel like I want to go and do something with my hands now. This has been brilliant. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you as well.
Thank you.
Sandy and Marina. Nice to talk with you, Shel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.